Good afternoon, everyone. This is Mike O'Malley here with the Hurricane Outlook and Discussion for September 16, 2019, recorded around 3:25 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hurricane Humberto has becoming a little bit better organized today. Maximum sustained winds of 85 miles per hour and a pressure of 978 millibars, and that will continue to strengthen here over the next few days. Humberto is expected to become a major hurricane here sometime between Tuesday afternoon and Wednesday morning here across the open Atlantic. But we should keep our eye for Bermuda here, our eye on Bermuda here over the next couple of days. This does not look to be a significant landfall threat for Bermuda at this time. The course should, on the official track, the course should pass far enough to the north of Bermuda that it would not bring the core ashore. However, I do think that it will pass a little further north of what the current forecast is indicating, and I'll show you why here in just a little bit. Currently, this is expected to bring near tropical storm force conditions for portions of Bermuda, and as such, we will likely see tropical storm watches or warnings posted later tonight by the National Hurricane Center and the government of Bermuda. But regardless, everyone in Bermuda needs to be watching and preparing as if there was a hurricane landfall coming at this current time. You are still well within the 3-day cone at this point, and again, any deviations left, or I'm sorry, to the right of this cone would bring those hurricane force winds closer to the coastline. This will also be a rip current threat for portions along the southeast United States and the northeast. We will likely see these rip currents that radiate outwards and that are already starting to impact portions of the Florida East Coast, and later in the week will translate across towards the rest of the coastal United States, North Carolina, Virginia, South Carolina. Those portions could see an uptick in the rip current threat, and that is certainly not something to take lightly. Rip currents can and have killed people in the past, so it is important that if you are experiencing rip currents, to stay out, get out and stay out of the water. Rip currents can kill even experienced swimmers. Also, the surf will be higher, so for any experienced surfers, that will be a good opportunity for them, but mainly for the general public, just stay out of the waters because there will be significant rip current threats. Hurricane Humberto has continued to show strengthening. This imagery is from the Tropical Tidbits website, and you can start to see that there is an eye starting to appear and clear out here with a nice central dense overcast. Not as much dry air intrusion as we've seen the last few days. There is still not a whole lot of convection on the southern part, but regardless, there is very nice, well-established outflow on almost every single side at this point. We've seen well-established outflow coming from Humberto, and not a lot of shear has been impacting the system here. We still have a little bit of shear around, but this outflow is kind of mixing out a lot of this shear, and that is keeping Humberto away from the dry air entrainments and the shear environment that is around there. And the latest pass from Recon found a pressure of about 973 millibars, which was just a little bit lower than the official forecast at 11 o'clock, which was 978 millibars. So we've started to see the pressure come down again. Steady indicates to me that steady strengthening could occur, and again, this could be a major hurricane sooner rather than later. However, the latest pass on Recon did not find that much of a strong indication of any significant strengthening. We go to the plots here, you can see roughly about 75 to near 80 knots of flight level winds here, and about roughly 80, or excuse me, that'd be roughly about 70 knots of surface winds. So still a formidable hurricane at this point in time, but not a significant, strong, very strong hurricane at this point. But the pressures continue to lower and the winds continue to strengthen. That indicates to me that this could become a major hurricane, certainly within the allotted time that the National Hurricane Center expects us to peak out, and peaking out at about 115 miles an hour before gradually weakening later in the week. And this is coming from the official RAMMV website here, the NOAA website. And you can see that we've seen a lot of good outflow. We'll speed this up here just a little bit. We've seen a lot of good outflow transpire here with Humberto over the last couple of hours and really the last day or so, we've seen this outflow really kick in. This was earlier yesterday, and you can really see how that outflow has started to crank in, and especially once this turned off towards the north and east and became a line poleward. And we were talking about that poleward sort of pass, or that poleward orientation rather, with Humberto. Once this becomes oriented with the shear vector, which is also going in this direction, this will allow for that outflow to rapidly expand. And you notice though, you're not getting a lot of expansion here on the southern side, and we'll kind of play this, and you can see there's not a lot of shear or a lot of expansion on that southern side, which does indicate that there's still a little bit of shear on the infringing on the southern side of this. But with that, also it is also helping to radiate out the outflow. As such, there is outflow. There's actually cirrus clouds from the outflow on the Outer Banks of North Carolina and even portions of South Carolina. There is those far outer cirrus clouds associated with the outflow. You notice also a well-established eye right there and pretty deep convection, mainly though off towards the west of the center. Really not a lot of significant deep convection on this side. But then we go to the Dvorak intensities here, the Dvorak guide, and you can definitely see where most of the intensity is located off towards the northwestern and western sides of the eye here. Not a lot of significant convection surrounding the eastern side, but there is a little bit of banding here that might try to continue to wrap around, but we've not seen a real significant thwart of development across the side, but that is not restraining that is certainly not restraining the intensification at this point in time. We go to the loop here. This is the visible satellite loop, and you can definitely see that we've seen a well-established eye develop here. Over the last couple of hours, we've seen a well-established eye develop. Almost wanted to pull the center a little bit north from time to time with these convective bursts that's been occurring. Not a super well cleared out eye, but you can definitely see a nice central dense overcast with this deeper convection off towards the west. Still not a ton of convection off this way, but regardless, there is convection on this side that is bringing heavy rain. Of course, this is out in the open Atlantic. But you can definitely see that not a whole lot of deeper convection on this side, but from time to time near the eye wall, we've seen these bursts of hot towers develop and kind of rotate around the eye, helping to lower the pressures. And we go to the this is the the water vapor loop, and you can definitely see this is our trough of low pressure that we've been, or our trough that we've been wanting to pick up Humberto, and that has certainly done that. That is now turning the storm off towards the north and east, and we'll continue to do so over the next few days. However, if we go back and we look here, this is the GFS here, and we'll just move this at about 24 hours. You can see this is the trough here that's picking up the system, that's picking up the system and wanting to carry this further on out away from any land masses. However, we are watching in particular this ridge of high pressure out here that will, over the next coming days, that will continue to eventually stunt the looping here. And you can sort of see that this ridge here by 84 hours begins to build in over top and almost forcing Humberto a little bit further off towards the north and west. And that is certainly something that the models have begun to advertise a little bit during the day yesterday and today, that we've started to see a little bit more of this northwesterly jog indicated by some of the models, with this ridging of high pressure that is expected to kind of build over top of Humberto that might force it a little bit further west. And you can see between 84 and 90 hours, that's a clear westerly jog or northwesterly jog with this high pressure sort of up here, sort of cutting off the real safe out to sea tracks. So while this could certainly and possibly will certainly go out to sea, that is not 100% guaranteed, as some of the modeling today, even yesterday, have started to indicate more of a pattern where this will come up and slow down, and they begin to take that jog towards the northwest or directly west. And it's all dependent on how strong this ridging of high pressure is out here and how fast or slow Humberto moves over the coming days here. So when we go to the EPS tracks, the ECMWF tracks is coming from the Weather Nerds site. You can see a lot of models today, a lot of the ensemble guidance, while the majority of them are out to sea comfortably, you can start to see where there's some deviations here further back towards the north and west, and or directly even west. And that is something that we've seen advertised by the European ensemble members during the day yesterday and today. There is roughly about 1,000 nautical mile difference in this track here. And if we go back to the 11 o'clock advisory here, there is about 1,000 nautical mile spread on the ensemble guidance by day 5. So that results in a lower than normal confidence in the track forecast. And that is all thanks to this ridging of high pressure that's sitting out here and how strong that ridging is. If that ridging decides to sort of nose its way in while Humberto is sort of trying to come up like this, that might stunt this further back towards the northwest here. So we do have to watch for the potential that this makes it further north or west than currently indicated by the Hurricane Center. So this is not a completely done deal yet. Now, this does not mean that the United States is in direct jeopardy for a landfalling hurricane, but it is something that you have to keep your eye on as part of the overall guidance has jumped a little bit today further towards the northwest, and even the HWRF model earlier this morning was showing a similar sort of idea where it turns further towards the north and west. So there's a lot to talk about here over the coming days and a lot to watch, certainly with the future track of Hurricane Humberto here. Again, not everything is set in stone, but the most likely option at this point is out to sea, but not everything is set in stone at this current point. So we'll have another video update out around 7 o'clock Eastern time tonight. We'll have another video update regarding Hurricane Humberto in the latest with that. So again, the main takeaways is continuing to strengthen going off towards the north and the east here. We are watching for the eventual track of Hurricane Humberto, as some of the model spread today has begun to show more of a northwesterly or westerly jog here. After about 72 to 84 hours, this begins to take that jog. So we'll have to continue to monitor for the potential of that, but for the most part, this should mainly stay out to sea, hopefully. So we are watching that. Again, Hurricane Humberto continuing to strengthen throughout the day, and we are continuing to monitor the progress of that. That's going to be it for me for right now. I will have another video update around 7 o'clock Eastern time tonight.